My fiancé dumped me at 8 p.m. the night he was made VP, telling me I didn't look the part of a corporate wife, after I spent 3 years and $25,000 of my own savings ghostwriting the strategy that got him promoted. But by 8:55 a.m., 9:10 a.m., my phone rang. It wasn't him. It was the CEO, and he had a question that changed everything. Let me back up. You need to understand the scene to understand the audacity. The sheer audacity. We were at the Capitol Grill. His choice. Of course. Caleb loved places where the steak cost more than my weekly grocery budget and the lighting was dim enough to hide his intentions. He was wearing the navy bespoke suit I bought him for the final interview. $2,400. I remember the price because I'm still paying interest on it. He looked like a VP. He looked like $1 million. And I looked like the woman who had stayed up for 3 straight nights formatting his pitch deck, surviving on dry toast and anxiety. The waiter had just cleared the plates. I reached for my purse, a reflex honestly because for 3 years, we meant me paying. Put it away, Lena, Caleb said. He tapped his new corporate card on the table. The sound was sharp. Final. Expense account covers it. Finally. I smiled. Actually smiled. I reached across the table to take his hand. We did it, Caleb. All those late nights. It paid off. He didn't take my hand. He took a sip of his scotch. A 25-year-old single malt. $40 a glass. Lena, he said. His voice dropped an octave. The serious executive voice. The one I taught him to use during negotiations. We need to talk about the transition. The transition? I asked. You mean the move? I already looked at those condos in the Seaport District. The rent is high, but with your salary bump. No, he interrupted. I transition. Into this role. He set the glass down. He looked at me. Not with love. Not even with anger. He looked at me like I was a spreadsheet cell that was messing up his formatting. This VP role, it's different, Lena. It's high visibility. Board dinners. Investor retreats in Aspen. It requires a certain aesthetic. A certain pedigree. My stomach dropped. Pulled. Hard. Pedigree. Look, you're great, he said, waving his hand dismissively. You've been helpful. Really. But let's be honest. You're a logistics manager for a shipping company. You wear Old Navy. You get nervous at galas. You don't fit the vision of where I'm going. I blinked. I wrote the vision of where you're going. He laughed. A short, dry sound. You help with some slides. Don't take too much credit, babe. It's unbecoming. Helped with some slides that I felt the blood rushing in my ears. I wrote the Vision 2025 deck. I said. My voice was shaking. I built the churn models. I wrote the speech you gave to the board this morning. The one they gave you a standing ovation for. He leaned in. His eyes went cold. And who's going to believe that? The board? The shareholders? You're the girlfriend. I'm the VP. I'm the talent. You're just support staff. And your contract is up. He signaled for the check. I'm breaking the lease, he said casually, as if discussing the weather. I'll send a mover for my things tomorrow. You should probably find a roommate. That apartment is expensive. He stood up, smoothed the lapels of the suit I bought. Take an Uber home, Lena. On me. He tossed a $20 bill on the table. He walked out. He didn't look back. I sat there. In the dim light. Staring at the $20. He thought he was the architect of his own success. He thought I was just support staff. He had no idea that I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I picked up the $20. I realized something then. Something dangerous. He thought the Vision 2025 strategy lived in his head. But it didn't. It lived in a cloud folder. A folder he had access to. But the owner of that folder? The administrator. That was me. I took the Uber home. And I went to work. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. His scent was still everywhere. That expensive cedarwood cologne I picked out for him because the cheap stuff gave me a headache. I walked into the living room. There was the desk we shared. Well, the desk I bought that he monopolized. I sat down. Booted up my laptop. The fan whirred to life. It sounded like a jet engine in the empty room. I logged into our joint bank account. I needed to see the damage. The real number. I knew it was bad. I didn't know how bad. I scrolled through the last 90 days. March 12th. $450. A networking dinner, he said, was essential. March 18th. $1,200. A watch repair. For a vintage Rolex he needed to impress the CEO. April 4th. $3,000. Transfer to Caleb Personal. I pulled up the calculator app. My hands were trembling. Not from sadness anymore. From rage. Tuition for his executive MBA prep course? $7,000. Paid by me. The consultant fees for his image branding? $4,000. Paid by me. The rent he forgot to Venmo me for 3 months in a row? $6,300. Total investment in Caleb Incorporated, $25,482. And that was just the money. The time was worse that I opened the folder labeled Caleb Work. It was massive. 3 years of files. Q3 strategy. Merger acquisition targets. CEO keynote drafts V1 through V55. He hadn't written a single strategic word since 2021. Not one. I did the research. I built the Excel macros. I wrote the scripts he memorized in the mirror while I ironed his shirts that I was his brain. He was just the mouth. And he had just cut off the blood supply to the brain. I looked at the clock. 10:45 p.m. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. the new VP of Strategy was leading his first solo deep dive session with the CEO and the board. The topic: Execution Tactics for Vision 2025. He needed the detailed financial breakdown. The one with the complex pivot tables. The one that explained how to save the company 15% in logistics costs. He didn't know how logistics worked. I did. That was my actual day job. He just took my industry knowledge and slapped his name on it. I hovered my mouse over the folder. I could delete it. Just wipe it all. But that was too easy. If I deleted it, he could claim a technical glitch. He could play the victim. Oh, the server crashed, how tragic. No, I needed him to fail. I needed him to freeze. I needed him to be exposed as the empty suit he was. I right-clicked on the folder Vision 2025 execution data. Select. Share settings. User. Caleb_VP at company.com. Permission level. Editor. I clicked the drop-down menu. I changed it to remove access. Click. Gone. I didn't stop there. I went into the revision history. I downloaded every version. Every timestamp. Every comment where he asked things like, "Babe, what does EBITDA mean again?" Or, "Can you make this sound smarter?" I saved them to a thumb drive. Then I saved them to a Google Drive he didn't know about. Then I took a screenshot of the folder properties showing me as the creator and owner. I closed the laptop. I poured myself a glass of water. Tap water. Because I couldn't afford the sparkling water he liked anymore. I went to bed. I stared at the ceiling for hours. At 2 a.m. His side of the bed felt huge. At 3 a.m. I wondered if I was ruining his life. At 4 a.m. I remembered he left me at a restaurant with $20 after stealing 3 years of my life. I fell asleep smiling. I woke up to my phone vibrating. 7:15 a.m. A text from Caleb. "Hey. Can't find the execution file. Cloud must be glitchy. Resend it to my work email ASAP. Need to prep for the 9 a.m. No, please. No, sorry about last night. Just a command. Like I was a vending machine he could kick until a product fell out. I didn't reply. 7:20 a.m. Lena. Seriously. Stop playing around. Resend the file. 7:25 a.m. This isn't funny. I'm presenting in 90 minutes. Send the damn file. I made coffee. I drank it slowly. I watched the sun come up over the city. 7:30 a.m. My phone started ringing. Caleb. I let it go to voicemail. 7:32 a.m. Caleb again. Voicemail. 7:35 a.m. A text. If you don't send this, I'm telling everyone you're crazy. I'll tell them you're a bitter ex trying to sabotage the company. Do you want a lawsuit? Because I have legal on speed dial now. But there was the threat. He wasn't panicked yet. He was angry. He still thought he had the power. He thought his title made him bulletproof. I finally typed a reply. Sorry, Caleb. You said I didn't fit the vision. I assumed that meant you didn't need my work anymore. I'm just a logistics manager, remember? I wouldn't understand high-level strategy. Send. Then I blocked his number. I sat there, feeling my heart hammer against my ribs. This was it. The point of no return. I needed to explain why this terrified me. Caleb wasn't just a guy. He was a machine. A social engineering machine. I met him in grad school. He was the guy everyone wanted to be around. He had that teeth-whitened smile and a handshake that made you feel like the only person in the room. I was the scholarship kid in the back row, taking notes in shorthand. He charmed me. He told me I was brilliant. He told me we were a power couple. But slowly, over years, he chipped away at me. You're too quiet for these parties, let me do the talking. You don't understand office politics, let me handle the credit. You're better at the details, I'm the big picture guy. He made me feel lucky to be useful to him. And the gaslighting. God, the gaslighting. Last year when I asked him why his name was the only one on a proposal I spent 40 hours writing, he looked at me with those sad puppy eyes. Babe, he said. It's strategy. If I get promoted, we get promoted. My name gets us the money. Your name. Well, no offense, but nobody knows who you are. I'm doing this for our future family. Our future family. That was the hook. He knew I wanted a family. He dangled it like a carrot on a stick. Just one more promotion, then we get married. Just one more raise, then we buy the house. I paid for the carrot. I paid for the stick. And now he was using the stick to beat me. 8:15 a.m. I unblocked him for a second just to see 12 missed calls, 5 voicemails. Text. I'm sorry, baby. I was stressed last night. I didn't mean it. We can work this out. Just send the file. Please. The CEO is walking in at 9. Panic. Pure panic. He realized the vision wasn't a vague idea. It was math. It was hard data regarding supply chain optimization that he literally did not understand. If the CEO asked, how did you calculate the freight reduction percentage? Caleb wouldn't know if the answer was linear regression or magic dust. I didn't reply. 8:45 a.m. I was getting ready for my actual job. Pulling on my Old Navy slacks. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked tired. But I looked solid. You are not support staff, I whispered. 8:55 a.m. I was putting on my shoes when my phone rang again. I expected Caleb, calling from a burner number. I looked at the screen. Unknown caller. I almost didn't answer. But a gut feeling, a sharp tug in my stomach, told me to pick up. Hello. Is this Lena? The voice was deep, gravelly, impatient but not unkind. I froze. I knew that voice. I had listened to it on speakerphone for 3 years while Caleb pretended to take notes. Yes, this is Lena. This is Sterling Vance, CEO of Apex Logistics. I sat down on the floor. One shoe on, one shoe off. Mr. Vance, I said. I know who you are. Good, he said. Because I'm currently sitting in a boardroom with your fiancé. Or ex-fiancé. He's not clear on the terminology right now. Ex, I said. Definitely ex. Right. Well, Caleb is currently sweating through his suit. He says the files are corrupted. He says the cloud ate the data. He's trying to wing it with buzzwords. He just used the phrase, synergistic paradigm shift, 3 times in one sentence. I let out a short, involuntary laugh. He loves that one. It's embarrassing, Vance said. But here's the thing, Lena. I asked him a specific question. I asked him about the Q3 fuel surcharge projections. He froze. He tried to Google it under the table. Vance paused. The silence was heavy. But I remember something, Vance continued. 6 months ago, during the Zoom merger call, Caleb muted himself to cough. But he didn't mute. I heard a woman's voice in the background. A woman explaining why the maritime insurance rates were going to spike. My breath caught. I remembered that day. Caleb had panicked about the rates. I had to walk him through it while he was on camera. That was you, wasn't it? Vance asked. Yes, I whispered. And the Vision 2025 deck? The syntax isn't Caleb's. Caleb writes like a LinkedIn post. This deck reads like an operations manual. Did you write it? Mr. Vance, I said, my voice steadying. I didn't just write it. I built the model. Can you prove it? I have the metadata, the edit history, and the original spreadsheets. Can you be here in 20 minutes? I have my own job to get to. Forget your job, Vance said. If you can explain this slide deck better than my VP can, I'll hire you. 20 minutes. Or I fire him and scrap the project. I looked at my reflection. I'll be there in 15. The Uber ride to Apex headquarters felt like a blur. I had my laptop. I had my thumb drive. I had my hair in a messy bun because I didn't have time to fix it. I walked into the lobby. The receptionist tried to stop me. "I'm here to see Sterling Vance," I said. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." "But he's expecting me." Her phone rang. She picked it up, listened, and her eyes widened. She looked at me with new respect. "Go right up. Boardroom A, top floor." The elevator ride took forever. 30 floors. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Thump, thump, thump. What if I froze? What if Caleb was right? What if I didn't have the pedigree? The doors opened. The hallway was glass and chrome. Expensive. Intimidating. I walked toward the double doors at the end. I could hear voices. I pushed the doors open. The room went silent. It was a massive table. 12 people. Mostly men in gray suits. And Caleb. He was standing at the head of the table. He looked wrecked. His tie was loosened. His forehead was shiny with sweat. He looked like a deer in headlights, if the deer was also a narcissist who knew his insurance was about to expire. He saw me. "Lena," he squeaked. "What are you doing here? You can't be here." "Security." Sterling Vance was sitting at the center of the table. He didn't look at Caleb. He looked at me. "Sit down," Vance said. He pointed to the empty chair next to him. "This is unprofessional." Caleb shouted. He was losing it. "She's a stalker. She's obsessed with me. She hacked my files." "Actually," I said, my voice surprisingly loud in the quiet room, "I just revoked the access to the files I created." I walked to the table. I didn't sit. I plugged my laptop into the HDMI cable that was dangling uselessly near Caleb's hand. The big screen on the wall flickered. My desktop appeared. I opened the file. Vision 2025 under at it. "Caleb," Vance said. "Sit down." Caleb sank into his chair. He looked small. "Lena," Vance said. Slide 14. The logistics efficiency model. Caleb says we can save 12% by switching to rail transport in the Midwest. I asked him how that accounts for the increased lead times. He said synergy. A few board members chuckled. I looked at the slide. I didn't need to read it. I knew it by heart. I wrote it on a napkin 3 months ago while Caleb was watching football. "It's not just rail," I said. I looked directly at Vance. "Rail saves money, yes, but it costs time. The 12% savings doesn't come from the transport mode. It comes from the inventory holding strategy. We shift to a just-in-time model for the Midwest distribution centers, using rail for non-perishables and keeping a truck fleet on retainer for expedited orders. The cost balance creates the 12% margin. But only if diesel prices stay below $4.50 a gallon. If they spike, we trigger the contingency clause on slide 18. Silence. Absolute silence. Vance leaned back. He steepled his fingers. "Slide 18, he asked. I clicked. Slide 18. Contingency protocols. If fuel spikes," I continued, gaining momentum, "we switch to regional sourcing. We lose 2% on the margin, but we protect the delivery guarantees. It's all in the Excel model linked to this chart." I clicked the chart. The spreadsheet opened. Thousands of rows of data. Complex formulas. "Does Caleb know the password to this sheet?" Vance asked. I looked at Caleb. He was pale. "Gray, actually." "No," I said. "He doesn't. Because he didn't write it. Because he hasn't opened Excel since 2019, I said. "That's a lie." Caleb jumped up. "I dictated it to her. She's just a secretary. She's taking my ideas." I turned to him. I felt a cold calm wash over me. The cold fury. "Caleb," I said, "what's the formula in cell C45? "What?" "Cell C45. It's the driver of the entire model. If you dictated it, you know what the variable is." He stammered. It's the profit margin." "No," I said. "It's the driver retention rate. Because without drivers, we don't have a business." I turned back to the board. "He doesn't know the strategy," I said. Because he was too busy spending the money I earned on suits to look like a strategist. I pulled a piece of paper from my bag. "Speaking of money." I slid the paper across the table to Vance. "What is this?" Vance asked. "My invoice," I said. "For 3 years of consulting services. Ghostwriting, strategic planning, crisis management. Vance looked at the paper. He looked at Caleb. Then he looked at me. This is detailed, Vance said. I'm a logistics manager, I said. I like details. Vance stood up. Caleb, he said. His voice was very quiet. Pack your things. But Sterling, you're fired, Caleb. For fraud. For incompetence. And for wasting my morning. You can't do this. Caleb screamed. I'm the VP. Not anymore, Vance said. Security will escort you out. Two large men in blazers stepped forward. They had been waiting by the door. Caleb looked at me. His eyes were full of hate. You ruined everything, he hissed. You petty, jealous. I didn't ruin anything, I said. I just stopped doing your homework. They dragged him out. He was still shouting about his rights when the elevator doors closed. The room was quiet again. Vance looked at the screen. Then he looked at me. You have a job, right? In logistics. Yes. Quit, he said. Excuse me. Quit. I can't make you VP. You don't have the tenure. My heart sank. Of course. But, he continued, I can make you senior director of strategy. Pays significantly more than whatever you're making now. And I suspect you'll be VP in a year. He pushed the invoice back to me. And we'll pay this, he said. Consider it a signing bonus. I looked at the number on the paper. $25,000. I looked at Vance. When do I start? Right now, he said. Walk us through slide 19. The next hour was a blur. I presented the deck. My deck. I didn't stumble. I didn't freeze. I knew every number because I had lived them. I had agonized over them at 2 a.m. while Caleb was snoring. When I finished, the board didn't give me a standing ovation. This wasn't a movie. They did something better. They nodded. They took notes. They asked serious questions. They treated me like an expert. At 11 a.m., the meeting adjourned. Vance walked me to HR to sign the paperwork. You realize, he said as we waited for the elevator, that Caleb is going to be a problem. He's vindictive. I know, I said. He threatened to sue me. Let him try, Vance said. Our legal team is bored. They'd love a chew toy. He handed me a folder. Welcome to Apex, Lena. Don't buy any expensive suits yet. We're casual on Fridays. I walked out of the building at noon. The sun was shining. It was blindingly bright. I checked my phone. 47 text messages from Caleb, alternating between begging and threatening. You stole my job. I can't believe you did this. I'm going to lose the apartment. I deleted the thread. I walked to the nearest bank. I deposited the check Vance had written me. A manual check from the company account for the consulting fee. The teller looked at the amount. Whoa. Good day. The best. I said. I walked home. I packed Caleb's things. I didn't burn them. I didn't throw them on the lawn. That's amateur hour. I packed them neatly into boxes. I labeled them. Suits. Shoes. Ego. Okay, I didn't write ego. But I thought it. I called his parents. Hi, Mrs. Miller, I said. Caleb is moving out. He lost his job today. He might need a place to stay. I let her scream for a minute. Then I hung up. I sat on the floor of the empty living room. I was alone. But for the first time in 3 years I didn't feel lonely. I felt light. 6 months later. I was sitting in my own office. A real office. With a door that closed and a view of the harbor. My assistant poked her head in. Lena. Mr. Vance needs the Q4 projections. Already sent them, I said. And tell him the rail strike contingency is on page 5. You're a wizard, she said. No, I smiled. Just organized. I took a sip of my coffee. Sparkling water, actually. The expensive kind. I had heard through the grapevine about Caleb. He tried to spin the story. He told people I slept with the CEO. He told people I was a corporate spy. Nobody bought it. The industry is small. People talk. They knew he froze in the boardroom. They knew he didn't know the numbers. He couldn't get a job in strategy. Last I heard he was selling timeshares in Florida. He sent me a Venmo request last week. Request, $500. For the moving truck. I declined it. I looked at my bank account. The $25,000 was back. Plus interest. Plus a salary that meant I didn't have to check the price of gas anymore. I bought a condo. Not in the Seaport District. That was too flashy. I bought a place in a quiet neighborhood with a garden. I spent my weekends planting tomatoes. I met someone new. A teacher. On our first date he reached for the check. We can split it, I said. Reflex. No, he said. I invited you. I pay. That's how it works. He didn't wear a suit. He wore a flannel shirt. He didn't care about my pedigree. He asked me about my day. And he actually listened to the answer. It was boring. It was mundane. It was perfect. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that dinner at the Capitol Grill. I think about the moment Caleb said I didn't fit the vision. He was right. I didn't fit his vision. His vision was a mirage. It was a house of cards built on my back. I had my own vision now. And in my vision, the person who does the work gets the credit. The underdog doesn't just survive. She thrives. I closed my laptop. 5:00 p.m. I walked out of the office. The receptionist waved. Have a good night, Lena. You too, Sarah. I walked to my car. I unlocked the door. I drove home. The rearview mirror showed the city skyline behind me. Apex Logistics was the tallest building. I smiled. Justice is a dish best served with cold, hard data. And maybe a side of sparkling water. I want to leave you with one thought. If you are the person behind the scenes. If you are the one typing the emails, fixing the spreadsheets, cleaning up the messes. If you are the one making someone else look like a genius. Stop. Check the receipts. Check the bank account. Ask yourself, if I stopped rowing the boat today, would they drown? If the answer is yes, you have more power than you think. They have the title. But you have the engine. Don't let them tell you that you don't fit the vision. You are the vision. And if they don't see it, delete the access. And watch them sink.